This month on Focus, Black Oklahoma. Join us as we continue our coverage on how freedom of speech is under fire for student journalists.
Discover how nonprofit foundations are creatively addressing mental health cuts.
Understand how breast cancer disproportionately affects Black women.
And listen to a poem by Tinasha LaRayeė, recited at the unveiling of the Clara Luper statue in Oklahoma City. All of this and more on Focus, Black Oklahoma.
This is Focus, Black Oklahoma. I'm Dr. Autumn Brown.
And I'm Jacob Littlebear.
Focus Black Oklahoma is sponsored by the Black Church Traditions and African American Faith Life program at Phillips Seminary, offering a master's degree in social justice online and in person. Learn more at wherefaithleads.com.
In part 2 of her look at the growing wave of attacks on free speech across college campuses, Nico Berlin takes us inside the story of the Maneater, the University of Missouri's printed newspaper, which switched to a digital-only platform in May 2023, after nearly 7 decades of publication. In her story, she reminds us that printed newspapers are significant because they make truth tangible.
Having your name in print is a different feeling than seeing your name on a website, because it's something you can hold in your hands, you can show it off, and in my opinion, having your name in print is the best feeling as a journalist.
That's Chase Prey, editor-in-chief to the Maneater, the University of Missouri student newspaper. The Maneater's leadership decided to end its print in May 2023 after 68 years of publication. Here's Prey again.
I came from a high school publication that did print once a month, and I was excited to continue it in college. So I didn't have the opportunity to do it here. I was like, why in the world would we do that? But as time has gone on, I'm starting to understand why they did it. We've always been independent, but we do get some student fees, and they cut our student fees by a lot. And when they cut our student fees, that made print harder. The reason our staff used to be paid was because of the ads that we had in the paper. We had enough money that we could pay our staff. But when you take away our student fees and we can't print anymore, those ad spaces go away. And when the ad spaces go away, that extra money to pay our staff goes away as well. Less and less people on campus know about the Maneater, because people aren't just going to go out of their way and look up like local student journalism. If it's not out in the public for them to see, they're not going to go and take that extra step. We're completely digital, but there's a lot of other ways we get our name out there. We do weekly newsletters. We do a lot of fundraisers in the community. I'm always going to try to make the publication better and make the lives easier for our staffers, editorial board, and myself. But when you look around the country, especially right now, recent stuff going on with like advisors getting fired for protecting students because the university is shutting down on what they can and can't print, I am grateful that Mizzou has not gone that far.
In Oklahoma, Indiana, Texas, and Alabama, there have been allegations of universities violating student press First Amendment freedoms. The Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press alleged in October that the University of Central Oklahoma illegally censored student journalists by ending print of its student newspaper, The Vista. The committee argued ending print of The Vista was one of several retaliatory measures taken against student journalists. The Vista did not rehire many students who vocally opposed the print prohibition. Andrew Frazier, a former reporter for The Vista, says he wanted to cover the prohibition but was told by a faculty advisor it would be quote-unquote dangerous for him. Here's Frazier.
And they were really trying to emphasize that we were like beating a dead horse. Like they had a whole meeting where they basically told the people speaking up about the ending of the print edition that we just needed to get over it.
The sudden switch to digital-only publication came after the University of Central Oklahoma, or UCO administrators, expressed disapproval toward students reporting. Here's Frazier again.
We got a lot of good feedback on a lot of those stories that the university didn't like so much. And some of those were the reporting on Avi Harjo's suicide. And then there was a vote of no confidence in President Lamb by one of the prominent student organizations.
UCO President Todd Lamb failed a vote of confidence on April 22, 2024. The Vista's former editor-in-chief, Jake Ramsey, helped report on the UCO student government's vote. Here's Ramsey, then Frazier again.
You saw faculty and staff and students through Faculty Senate, Staff Senate, and the student government teaming up to draft these legislations saying that, hey, we want Narcan on campus, we want Narcan vending machines on campus. We want answers on what's going to happen with these DEI initiatives under this new executive order. Like we want to know these things, and he wasn't responding to them. He wasn't making any comments. He didn't make any initiatives or anything like that.
The president told the former editor that he was focusing too much on broken eggs when there was a perfectly good omelet he could be focusing on. And I would say that's a good euphemism for the approach the Vista takes to their journalism at this point.
Frazier and several other former students for the Vista formed the Independent View due to concerns of censorship. Students produce all media for the Independent View and edit its content, sustained by community donations. Frazier serves as its editor-in-chief.
Our main funder was one of the main funders of the Denny Hall Endowment Fund, which was used to basically help fund the Vista from, UCO alum who had graduated from the mass comm building or journalism school. And many of those funders were upset about UCO ending the print edition.
Frazier says Joe Haidt, UCO's director of the Oklahoma Journalism Hall of Fame, helped secure support for the Independent View. With his help, the Communities Foundation of Oklahoma established a fund for the Independent View where donors can contribute on a periodic basis. Through individual donations in the fund, the Independent View has a budget of $50,000 through summer 2026, according to Haidt. Student staff can earn $10 per hour for up to 20 hours a week, providing a higher wage than what the Vista has posted. Here's Haidt.
What you put in print still teaches values such as accuracy and fairness and understanding that once it's in print, it's there. It's there for the future. It's there to be archived and such. It does not mean that digital is not important. Digital has an important role in the future, but print still has an importance, especially at a university, as a teaching tool about certain skills that are still needed in journalism today.
The Independent View's first print edition was distributed on October 28th of this year. First editions are free and second editions cost 50 cents. Frazier says their team plans to release an edition every 2 weeks after learning the process over the fall. Here's Frazier, then Haidt again.
I think students need to learn how to lay out print still. I mean, I know people are saying print is dying, but in many communities, rural, smaller communities, especially like we have around Oklahoma, I mean, I forget what the number is now. I should have looked it up before the interview, but there's still almost, I'm pretty sure 100 to 200 weekly print publications in Oklahoma. People are going to have to work there. I mean, not everybody's, going to work for the New York Times or the Oklahoman or anything like that.
The Independent View is being supported by those individuals and funders who feel like that it's going to become the true community voice, that it will have the freedom that it needs in order to do that as well.
Frazier says he does not believe the Vista can provide the journalism that students need at UCO.
I think there's too much oversight and there's too much fear and honestly not enough passion from the current group to want to do the type of journalism necessary to hold the university accountable for some of the things that they're doing. I mean, there's clear First Amendment rights violations going on. Students need to be aware of what's going on around them, and they may never go on the U Central Media website and then click on the tab that takes them to the Vista, because the Vista doesn't even have their own dedicated URL. Students just don't, they pay attention to what's in front of them. They may not think something's interesting. They may think, oh, I'll never read student journalism on campus, but then they see a headline that piques their interest on the news rack, and then they pick it up, and now you might have a new dedicated reader. And I think that's what news is all about. And I think that's the exact reason why you need tangible, honest journalism, around.
For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Nico Berlin in Columbia, Missouri.
Breast cancer touches families across every community, yet the burden of this disease is not shared equally. For Black women, a breast cancer diagnosis too often carries higher stakes, revealing how survival is shaped not only by biology, but by history, access, and justice. This disparity reflects deeper inequities. Here's Danielle A. Melton with more.
Breast cancer is often talked about in October. But according to the 2025 Cancer in Oklahoma Data Brief series from the University of Oklahoma, it is the most commonly diagnosed cancer among women in the state. With more than 3,400 new cases diagnosed in Oklahoma each year, breast cancer is unfortunately always around. Aisha Patterson was 30 years old, a wife and a mother of 4 when she walked into a cancer center and heard the words that changed her life.
The lumps in your breast are positive for breast cancer. And at that time, it's, we're in the pandemic, so she's wearing a mask. I'm thinking positive. I think that's a good thing. So I get excited, like, oh my gosh. And then just within a moment, it just hit me, no, positive is a bad thing. And in that second, my entire world changed forever.
She didn't know that her story was part of a much larger crisis in the state.
Black women are diagnosed at the same rate as white women, about the same rate, but have a 38% higher chance of dying. And then in Oklahoma, a 61% higher chance of dying.
Tulsa's chief health officer, Dr. Jabran Pasha, said the issue runs deeper than biology.
Yeah, I think the first thing to call out is that it's not because of genetics. That's a very easy scapegoat that kind of lets us all off the hook to say, oh, well, it's because they're genetically inclined to have more breast cancer, and that's just not the case.
Dr. Pasha said the real forces behind the crisis are the conditions in which Black women live.
We know chronic stress increases risk of breast cancer, right? And so if you live in neighborhoods that are under-resourced, oftentimes that comes with higher levels of stress. Being a Black woman in this country, I can't pretend to be a Black woman, but I love many Black women and I'm around a lot of Black women. They are facing a lot of stress, a lot of racism, a lot of discrimination. That translates to health conditions.
Aisha Patterson's experience reflects these realities.
It shaped everything. It was navigating a system that was not designed for me. The amount of them that had Black women on them were so very, very small compared to ones that had white faces on them.
Even in support groups, she often stood alone.
I remember going to a support group and just being the only Black woman in the entire support group and also the only young person.
Treatment changed more than her body. It changed how she navigated motherhood.
I'd have chemo every 3 weeks. So the first week I'd have chemo, I would be sick as a dog. Like, I can't do anything. I'm like FaceTiming my kids from their football, basketball game so that I could see the game. I was being a mom from bed.
And in 2020, even a simple cold became dangerous.
So if they'd come home from with a cold, I would have to be quarantined in my room for like a week or two at a time. I lost so much time, and emotionally that was crippling.
Patterson said that in the stillness of isolation, she reunited with an old friend.
In those quiet moments, I found God and I found myself. Like I found me, Aisha Patterson, not the mom, not the wife. I'm so grateful that I had that experience because I would not be the person that I am today if I wouldn't have had those still calm moments by myself learning who I was.
She found support in an unexpected place.
I got on Instagram and I searched the hashtag breast cancer, and I found so many other women that were going through the same thing, and they were sharing their stories, and it really gave me the strength to share mine.
When Patterson shared her story online, women began responding. Messages poured in from people she has never met, telling her how her post pushed them to take action.
Because of your story, I scheduled a mammogram, and I encouraged my mom to also go in for her mammogram. She said, my mammogram came out clear, but my mom's, they found early stage breast cancer. But if we wouldn't have saw your content, neither one of us would have gone. And she said, thankfully it's early, very, very early, and she's going to be okay. You really helped save my mother's life.
Dr. Pasha shares the one change that could protect more women like Patterson.
Healthcare in itself is not the solution. We always think it's more healthcare, it's more healthcare. How do we, make it so that folks don't have experiences that Aisha has had? How do we make it so that these health disparities don't exist? And people always go, well, we need more healthcare, we need more healthcare. We don't. What we need is, one, better collaboration, but also understanding what is the root of all of this. And it's what happens in the neighborhoods. It's making sure that folks have access to the resources they need to be well.
Patterson says women must also change how they value themselves.
I carried the weight of my family, like so many Black women. Like that's just what we do. You carry the weight of your family and the needs of everybody else and put yourself on the back burner. I walked around with 3 lumps in my breast for almost 6 months. But my kids, they were going to the dentist when they needed to go, going to the doctor. So I really focused on them instead of myself. And it's sad that it took a cancer diagnosis for me to say, you know what, I'm worth taking care of.
In terms of prevention, what can women do? First, we hear from Patterson, then Dr. Pasha.
Know they're normal. And that is knowing how their breasts normally look and feel, and then reporting changes to their doctor. Early detection can save your life.
In terms of mammogram, the age to remember is 40. Unless you have other factors, and no matter how old you are, notice that there's a lump in your breast, you go see a doctor.
For women without insurance, a Tulsa nonprofit organization called Oklahoma Project Women fills the gap. Here's Ann Bogie, the executive director of the Oklahoma Project Women.
Our mission at Oklahoma Project Women is to provide breast health care for women and men that have no health insurance and limited financial resources.
In 22 years, Bogie has seen the differences early detection makes.
We have been able to provide breast health care for more than 76,000 Oklahoma women since our beginning in 1998. 965 of those ladies have been diagnosed with breast cancer.
And one caller's story stays with her.
She had found the lump 3 or 4 years before her cancer was very advanced, and she ended up passing away from her breast cancer. But before that, she called our office several times and continued to thank us for the care that we had been able to give her access to, but said so many times how she just wished that she had heard about our organization earlier.
Aisha Patterson is turning her story into action.
So if you are a business or a nonprofit, I would love to connect so that we can grow the Oklahoma Breast Cancer Resource Guide. I also have a national breast cancer resource guide. And I think that as funding is being cut and healthcare is the costs are continuing to rise, we have to connect women to resources. We have to. And that could be financial resources, treatment assistant, whatever that looks like. We need to be able to give women the support that they need so that they can live, like literally live. Cancer is so expensive, and I don't think that it's not something that is easy to get through without some kind of support.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month ends in October. Breast cancer does not. To support this work, visit oklahomaprojectwomen.org. To follow Aisha Patterson's advocacy, find her on Instagram at Aisha Patterson. That's AISHA Patterson. For Focus Black Oklahoma, I'm Danielle A. Melton in Tulsa.
When budgets shrink, the need for care doesn't. Across clinics, classrooms, and community spaces, mental health professionals are being asked to do more with less. In response, many are turning to creativity as care. Alana Mbanza highlights how these innovations aren't just stopgaps, they're lifelines, reshaping how healing happens when resources are stretched thin.
Across Oklahoma, mental health providers are facing financial pressure. Nearly $40 million were cut from the state's mental health budget this fall, which reduced or ended hundreds of community contracts. For many people, these programs were the front lines of care. Now, community leaders are stepping in with their own approaches to emotional support, community connection, and healing. Cantice Burrell is a licensed clinical social worker based in Tulsa and the founder of Living My Worth. With over 12 years as a social worker, Cantice supports Black women in navigating stress, caregiving, and high-pressure environments. Burrell discusses what inspired her to start the community.
Living My Worth started really with just some years ago before I even held a license, with me just wanting there to be community for Black women and for us to have meaningful conversations. Typically, the oral tradition is the way that we pass down knowledge and information. Also, it's the way that we tend to not feel isolated. And I felt like with the invention of social media, we were getting really far away from really connecting with each other in a meaningful way. I started a discussion group and continued to just do empowerment work that now includes private therapy services.
As funding for mental health programs shrinks, these meaningful spaces matter even more. Burrell says she's already seeing the consequences of the cuts, even though she works in private practice.
Although I run a private practice, I rub shoulders with some of the community health organizations, and I have colleagues or other practitioners, friends that are working in those spaces. I noticed that a lot of those people who are working in those spaces are exasperated because now where there were resources, those resources are no longer available. Those programs, like a lot of the preservation type programs, have like special funding that typically people can tap into. And all of those things are beginning to go away and will be gone away soon.
She warns that the impact of the cuts to the mental health budget has a ripple effect within the community.
My thought process is that when a community doesn't take care of its most vulnerable, that we all suffer. So what I mean by that is when we don't have access to, say, food or stable housing, those types of things, there's an insecurity that can ripple to a child. That is what I see in the immediate. And then in the near future, it contributes to issues like homelessness, issues like crime. And I feel like, when people get desperate, they have to resort to other means to figure out how to get their needs met.
At McLean High School in North Tulsa, hip-hop artist and community organizer Steph Simon sees those pressures firsthand. Simon is the executive director and creator of Dreamland Tulsa, which operates as a 501c3 here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Through TMC Records, the school's student-run record label, he uses music to help students process emotions, express themselves, and stay connected to school. TMC Records creates a structure for students that helps build confidence, community, and accountability.
The mission of TMC Records it started out is to put students through college to go to the next level for creative writing, recording, and performance, and artist performance, as if they were in a band or a football athlete or a student athlete. So we come in and they create music based on where they come from, what the environment that they're inspired by. And to get the opportunity to do that, they have to maintain a C average like a student athlete to record and receive free studio time and all the things that come with being an artist, developing an artist, music videos, photo shoots, bios, and things of that nature.
Simon says his work with students begins long before a beat drops. Every class starts with an emotional check-in, something many students have never experienced anywhere else.
We start with how they're feeling. Every day they come in, I ask them from 1 to 5, how are you feeling? Is it a 1? Is it a 5 based on a great day? A 1 based on and that fluctuates for a teenager every day, every hour, every hour of the day. It can be a 5, it can be a 2, it can be a 3. And we start from there. What's going on? Why is it a great day? Let's talk about it. Let's rap about it. Why is it a bad day? Let's talk about it. Let's rap about it. What are we going to do to fix it? Really just holding the mirror up to their face and letting them see themselves and love it and express it.
The program at McLean has gained support from teachers, counselors, and administrators who say they watch students change over time.
They love that I'm here, from the principal all the way down to the janitors. They love the transformation that the kids go through, and they see it. They see it throughout the course of the year. So it's heavily supported by the staff. Superintendent Dr. Johnson, she loves what we're doing at McLean. So I have all the support in the world when it comes to the counselors, the principals. They send kids. I'm like the retention to a kid that's ready to just quit and give it up. And they send them here this is a project that if you can reach this one, then you can do it. You can do anything. So, and I love the challenge. I love the challenge because I was one of those kids and my friends was, you know what I'm saying?
And it's not just emotional growth. The impact shows up in students' attendance, their grades, and their sense of belonging.
Now their attendance is rising, their grades are rising, and they do it because, like I said, they want to be seen. And if they're on streaming, for a week, we have an audience. We've created an audience that they want to perform in front of, whatever their practice is, whether it's songwriting, performance, streaming, just being an online influencer and creating a little talk show on Instagram, just talking to students throughout the hall. The next day, the whole school's seen it. And now they come back to school and everybody know who they are. And they're like, I want to do this again. So I'm feeding them the attention and the things that they want. And they're giving me the grades and the accountability and the stuff that they need. And at the end, it's they ending up with both.
For Simon, the frustration isn't just about budget cuts. It's about what those losses mean inside a school that already faces steep challenges. At McLean, where students navigate poverty, safety concerns, and limited resources, mental health support is often the thin line that keeps them engaged, connected, and in class. Cuts to those services, he says, lands hardest on the young people who need stability the most.
After you get to know these kids, they're not bad, they're not gangsters, they're not thugs. They all have mental health. Their mental health is not as healthy or strong as other students with 2-parent households or different environments or, different situations. So to hear the help for these kids is kind of been taken away. Just hearing it right now kind of sucks to hear.
In Tulsa and beyond, writer and facilitator Vondell Burns is creating another kind of healing space, grounded in storytelling and vulnerability.
Saturday Scribe began as a personal ritual. I used to call them Vondell days when I was in college, and those were the days that I'd unplug from everything, find a coffee shop, and let that space be the inspiration for what I was writing that day. And that practice kept me grounded in creativity. In 2024, after a few years in Tulsa, I wanted to rebuild that creative rhythm after taking a break for a bit. But this time with community, I wanted it to be centered on community versus kind of like a solo practice. I met with Eddie, who then was a senior writer for the Black Wall Street Times. And I invited him to lead a writing session for a group trip that I was planning. The trip never happened, but that workshop did. And it sparked what became Saturday Scribe. And the vision was simple. It was community, creativity, and consistency. Those 3 C's, now joined by a fourth, collaboration, define, I think, the backbone of Saturday Scribe. It's a space where people show up however often they can to write, to share, and to build something.
Every week, writers gather in local coffee shops to write, share, and connect. Burns intentionally designs the prompts to support emotional processing.
Writing is how we make sense of our lives, or how I do. It's the story we tell ourselves about who we are and what we've lived through, what we're going to live through. Once you understand the power of the written word, you realize it can help shape not just your mindset, but your environment. So I use that pretty intentionally as a tool for healing within the prompts that I create, because storytelling connects us when language fails and it transcends time. Writing becomes healing when we use it to confront truth or express emotion and witness ourselves and others fully. And I think it is the backbone for creation. So I think arming the community with that superpower is one of my intrinsic motivations.
During a time when the budget for traditional mental health services are shrinking, Saturday Scribe has become a lifeline.
The share portion of each session is sacred. It's where bravery shows up. People read pieces that are deeply personal, sometimes through tears. And what follows is connections, validation, and freedom. In instances where that courage is met with support, you just see a transformation taking place in people. Over time, you see confidence build, and that spark when someone's fear turns into expressions.
Amid statewide cuts to funding for mental health, therapy, music, and community writing are filling critical gaps. They're not replacements for a functioning mental health system, but they show it's possible when people come together to care for one another. Cantice Burrell says when systems feel unsteady, the most powerful grounding force often comes from each other and the shared roots that help communities brace against the storm.
What that means is remembering each other, remembering that we're not alone. I like to use the tree, for example. Trees' roots, they run deep. And in a lot of cases, they connect to each other so that when the storm comes, they can more easily withstand. Even if they lose some leaves or some limbs, everybody can have a greater chance of standing through the storm when we stand together. So finding community and connecting to that deeper humanity, I think, is probably the other kind of small, easy way that we can weather the storms.
Across Oklahoma, the strain on the mental health system is undeniable and devastating. Even though public funding has decreased, the need for care has not. Instead, it's shifted into classrooms, coffee shops, and community circles. These creative interventions aren't substitutes for a fully funded mental health system, but they are evidence of what happens when people refuse to let care disappear. Through music, storytelling, and shared presence, communities are building spaces where people are seen, supported, and reminded that they are not alone. For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Alana Mbanza in Tulsa.
You're listening to Focus, Black Oklahoma.
Would you like to pitch a story to FBO?
Or work with us as a correspondent?
Please email us at contact@focusblackoklahoma.com
Or call 918-807-3886.
Thanks for joining us on Focus Black Oklahoma.
Clara Luper, also known as the mother of the civil rights movement, was recently commemorated in the form of a statue honoring her legacy leading Oklahoma City's sit-in movement. Luper and the work of her student activists will now be memorialized forever. FBO's Sondra Slade was there.
Not often does one have the opportunity to be present for the making of history. On November 1st, hundreds of people from all walks of life were in attendance at the unveiling of the Clara Luper Sit-In Plaza at 59 North Robinson Avenue in downtown Oklahoma City. The lifelike statues of teacher and civil rights leader Clara Luper and the 13 NAACP Youth Council members commemorate the sit-in at Katz Drugstore on August 19, 1958, nearly 70 years ago. The statue is a 4-ton, 16-foot bronze lunch counter with 15 life-size bronze figures that represent Mrs. Luper, the 13 original members of the Youth Council, and an employee of the drugstore. The sculpture was designed by Studio EIS, based in Brooklyn, New York. Mrs. Luper, known for her toughness and her steadfast commitment to civil rights, is often referred to as a woman that made sure her kids were always taught the truth, given support, and held to a high standard. Alana Mbanza, a renowned journalist, businesswoman, and social justice advocate, is one of the original 13 students in the Youth Council. Mbanza was just 7 years old at the time of the sit-in, making her one of the youngest people in the civil rights movement nationwide. Miss Mbanza, did you all go to Katz for several Saturdays?
That it wasn't 3 Saturdays. After that, we ended up sitting in on Saturday, but the first time we went to Katz, it was the 3rd day that we went, is when we got someone asked me, well, what did the waitress say? Well, she said, you know you people are not supposed to be here. Why are you here? And she went on to rave, yeah. But we were prepared. We had on, you see, I have on a little church dress. We were dressed nicely.
Oh, they were dressed
we were taught what I call a boot camp on how to act. If they do this, if they do that, you do this, you do that. We went through the whole thing.
Nonviolence was,
we
real.
We were taught about Gandhi and Dr. King's philosophy around nonviolence.
Were your parents worried about you becoming involved with the nonviolence movement?
My mother and Clara Luper were best friends. So we were involved in NAACP Youth Council. It was actually the Youth Council that hosted the sit-ins. Yeah. And Clara, which we called Aunt Clara, was our NAACP Youth Council advisor.
Mrs. Luper and the Youth Council members took a trip to New York to see Brother President, a play about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., written by Mrs. Luper. The group returned to Oklahoma through the Deep South, where Jim Crow was the law of the land. They saw firsthand the institutionalized racism and profound effects of segregation. Marilyn Hendrith, Luper's then 10-year-old daughter, insisted that her mother and friends help change this unequal treatment for blacks at home.
So it was her play that kind of put the heat under everything when we went to New York, and they loved us, and we came back, and Marilyn was like, hey, we need to do something. We went to northern route through Ohio and all the way to New York, and then we stayed in hotels in New York, and we ate in restaurants in New York where there was no segregation. And so then we got back on the bus after we did the play and enjoyed New York and came back to southern route, and that's when we started seeing the colored and the white signs and the dirty bathrooms and all the other things. We didn't stay anywhere.
Mrs. Luper taught history and media studies at Dungy High School in Spencer, as well as John Marshall and Clawson High School in Oklahoma City. Many of her former students were in the crowd at the statue unveiling. One of those attendees was poet and filmmaker Tinasha LaRayeė, who was not only a former student, but also a participant in the pageant that Mrs. Luper started in 1968 to showcase the integrity, intellect, beauty, and grace of Black women of Oklahoma.
Today I performed a poem that I wrote 17 years ago called 13 Cokes and a Side of Freedom
for 13 brave youngsters and their leader. In 2007, I was Miss Black Oklahoma, and the following year, when I was finishing up my year of reigning as Miss Black Oklahoma, Mrs. Luper said, "You're going to perform at the Freedom Fiesta," and that's an annual event that they put on to commemorate the sit-in movement. And she wanted me to perform a piece called "The Rhythm." It's a piece I did at the Miss Black Oklahoma pageant, but it's a piece, another Black history piece, but it's about the firsts that have come up in the entertainment industry. And I said, "Mama Luper, that's just not fitting for this occasion. I'll write a piece." So I wrote this a couple nights, or maybe the night before actually, the event that particular year, and got to perform it for Mrs. Luper 17 years ago.
LaRayeė began to cry when looking at the statue.
Wow. It's kind of like a holy eeriness. Especially, Mama Luper would always say, we've got to be the ones to tell our stories. No one's going to tell our stories. But I've been so moved to see Oklahoma City come together to say this moment happened, this moment mattered, this moment is important, and we're going to start creating a collective memory around this particular occasion. And that's really challenging when it comes to race in this country, race in this city. We have different memories. The Black community has their memory of how it went down. The white community has their memory of how it went down. But this is now a stamp of a collective memory where we're saying this happened, this is who we were, this is the shining people that came and brought change, and this is also a moment to be able to choose who we're going to be. So it's, like I said, holy, eerie, it's hallowed ground. It inspires me, it moves me, and I wonder if Mama Luper was here today, what she would be saying. I kind of think she'd be like, we could have used that money for some youth programs. But while simultaneously seeing the impact of it and seeing the rainbow of people that were here to celebrate, it's awe-striking.
Joyce Jackson was among 20 of Luper's former Dungy High School students present to support and honor the woman referred to as a mother of the civil rights movement.
I've been involved with this from the beginning because I was one of Ms. Luper's students. And so I was a part of the sit-in. I wasn't an original 13. And, I joined when I was 13, and it was probably a week or so after they had started the sit-in. And I'm so glad I did, because when my mother found out that I wanted to join, she said no. And I didn't realize that a lot of parents at that time, Black parents, were afraid because of Emmett Till's killing. So I just wanted to go because I was a student of Miss Luper's, and she said, we're going to make a difference. And my mother said, no, I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want, there's too much attention on this kind of stuff. And after I cried a lot to my daddy, he told my mother that Miss Luper would take care of us and we'd be okay. So I got a chance to go and got involved with the sit-in, and I was involved with the movement where she went all over the state to different places until I graduated, and then I moved out of state, but I came back and was a part of her sit-in movement again because she was involved with the sanitation strike here.
Jackson was moved by the gathering of old friends and the spirit of the day.
The day feels overwhelming, and I still have to pinch myself that it's real. We worked on this for 7 years, and you know, when the concept first came up, I thought, I was not sure that they were going to do something, you know. And our group is wonderful, and everybody felt so good about being involved and being a part of that. And of course, I felt good because I was one of her students. And she always said, we're going to make a difference, and we did. And we did. And I'm hoping that just this energy and atmosphere will motivate some of the young people to realize that they just need to speak up, they need to vote, and they can make a difference.
Being one of her students, did you feel you were making a difference?
I thank God that we were in Miss Luper's class and that I was a part of the history. Yeah, just because of her. Yeah.
The statue was vandalized less than 2 weeks after it was installed. A grim reminder that Mrs. Luper's work has yet to be completed. The courage and conviction required of 13 children who saw wrong and tried to right it is extraordinary. The statues have been restored and security cameras installed. The suspects remain at large. In a 2006 interview, Mrs. Luper stated, "My biggest job now is making white people understand that Black history is white history. We cannot separate the two." For Focus Black Oklahoma, I'm Sondra Slade in Oklahoma City.
Thanks for joining us on Focus Black Oklahoma. We close the show with a poem by Tinasha LaRayeė. She read this poem at the unveiling of the Clara Luper statue in Oklahoma City.
Next, we will have Tinasha LaRayeė, who will come and perform the spoken word in tribute to the Catch drugstore sit-inners and the 13 Cokes and a side of freedom. Won't you come?
This is a celebration of faces, a celebration of uniting races, changing the pace by putting truth in its rightful place. This is a leaving of cages. This is a coming of ages. This is as old as time and as fresh as the day's paper. This is a Maryland versus Calvin debate stir. The beginning of the beginning. Walking and marching, standing for hours, sitting and waiting for many more. Oh, didn't we have it easy to sit on our bottoms at the bottom of the white man's food chain in the white man's food domain and can't get a Coke? Didn't we have it easy, doing it up lavish as we sat off our feet? 13 baby warriors occupying these seats, glued, eyes glued, and scowling at our hair. Eyes glued and firing daggers at our backs, eyes glued and darting fire at our skin. Yes, we're here for one of the first ever sit-ins, sitting with our pride by our side, with our strength, with our fear, with our teacher, with our leader, with our mother of civil rights, our friend, Mrs. Clara Luper by our side, with God surrounding us, sustaining us, and with the Constitution knocking down Cat's door. Oh, we sat in those chairs, and we sat some more. 13 Cokes, please. And we sat some more. And we did not move when the names came flying. Dummy, monkey, ugly, disgrace, black thing. We smiled. No, we did not move. We did not move when the spit came flying, rudely sliding down our necks, heartlessly clinging to our clothes and in our hair, but shame nowhere in the air. And we wiped the mucus from our pride and smiled. For we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted on this seat. We store sitters shall not be moved until our thirst is quenched, until our $5 bill tightly clenched, until we clutch the cold, damp, welcoming bottle of recognition, until we hear the sharp air and sizzle of a broken seal, breaking segregation into pieces, until we come into contact with the cold, crisp taste of Coke, burning our lips and singeing the stains of discrimination, until we feel our rights as human beings running down our throats and filling our bellies. Our thirst will not be quenched. So, Lieutenant, go on and call the coroner, because some old ways are going to die today. And it may take 1963 assassinations. We just might have to endure 1968 58 Memphis motel shootings until we reach that land. But doggone it, on this day, on this hot and sunny 1958 day that the Lord has made, we ain't leaving till we get a Coke. We ain't leaving till we get a Coke. We are not leaving until we get a little old bottle of Coca-Cola. $5 bill. We paid our dues. Beatings and lynchings. Oh, we paid our dues. Still waiting for our 40 acres and a mule. Oh, we paid our dues and then some. So, if you would kindly go back to the Frigidaire and get our respect, our equality, our freedom from this inhumane, outdated, overrated slave chain mentality, and my Coke, please. And thank you. Oh, and you can keep the change.
Focus, Black Oklahoma is produced in partnership with KOSU Radio and Tri-City Collective. Additional support is provided by the Commemoration Fund and Press Forward. Our theme music is by Moffat Music.
Focus, Black Oklahoma's executive producers are Quresh Ali Lansana and Bracken Clark. Our associate producers are Jesse Ulrich and Naomi Agnew. Our production interns are Alexander Evans, Jess Grimes, Roma Carter, and Anna Wilson.
You can visit us online at kosu.org or focusblackoklahoma.com and on YouTube at Tri-City Collective OK. You can follow us on Instagram at focusblackok and on Facebook at facebook.com/focusblackok.com. You can hear Focus, Black Oklahoma on demand at kosu.org, the NPR app, npr.org, or wherever you get your podcasts. What's going on in your city?
As you go about your morning routine, there are a few things that are a must. You brush your teeth, put on a fresh pair of clothes, maybe even try to eat something before rushing out the door. You are busy. That's why we started the KOSU Daily Podcast, so you can get all the news you need while you're on the go. Subscribe to the KOSU Daily Podcast today.
Oklahoma City is pretty big. Take it from Mayor David Holt.
The city limits of Oklahoma City clock in at 620 square miles. That means we are the size of 8 Cleveland, Ohios. Washington, D.C., yeah, we could take 10 of those. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we're 11 Pittsburghs.
Luckily, KOSU's OKC Guide is here to break it all down, district by district. Head to kosu.org/OKC Guide to check it out.